7.2 eep. Alright, let's go. New patch. Obviously exciting. I think this is a fantastic patch. Some cool LYCAN buffs, some necessary Omni nerfs, and some crucial Wraith King nerfs. Let's go, boys. Clap it up. Clap it up. Alright, but let's get into it. So first off is a general change. Low ground miss and miss debuff chance is now pseudo-random. Basically, this means that instead of the miss chance being 25% every time, if you miss once, then the next attack, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be a higher percent chance to not miss. So basically, you're going to miss less uphill to simplify that. Next up is that you cannot buy 2 stout shields. This is what this means. Some offlaners were buying 2 stout shields, and they just took very little damage in the laning stage. Now, you can't do this, and I think this was a good change. Next up is Maelstrom. Heroes like Jug and Troll Warlord were buying Maelstrom as key farming and damage items. It felt like this item really did everything for those heroes, so I think it did need a slight nerf. Now, 160 to 150 is not going to make this item irrelevant for those heroes. I think Jug, Troll, etc., all the other heroes that buy it will still buy it. But yeah, it was a really, really good item for these carry heroes. So first up is Abaddon. Now your initial debuff lasts from 4 to 5 seconds. Basically what this means is that you have a higher chance to hit them again before it runs out, and you get the initial slow and all the other benefits. Wow, I don't think this is that crazy, but you know, a little Abaddon buff, sure. Next up is AA. You got a slight movement speed nerf. That's basically all you need to know. The AoE cold feed change, it definitely hurts him in the late game. 75 AoE is quite huge, right? Like radius, that means a lot. It means a lot. However, the early game for AA is now a bit worse. So you're gonna have to continue running in things like tri lanes or dual lanes where you can have someone to front line, because now he's even slower. Beastmaster got 5 less damage on the border damage talent. Bloodseeker is becoming one of the stronger laners, in my opinion. He's consistently gotten buffs and armor. He's quite tanky now. And they just gave him the ability to have Blood Right at level 1 on a 12-second cooldown. Let's look at the numbers, guys. This is pretty insane, right? This ability is quite nasty at level 1. It's 125 damage, 70 mana. It's 70 mana. Do you understand what that... Like, that is one of the lowest mana spells at level 1. It's on a 12-second cooldown. It does 125 damage. And it's pure. That's one of the highest damage nukes in the game at level 1 for one of the lowest mana costs on a 12-second cooldown. That's quite massive. Quite massive. Bounty got a base damage increase. I still think this hero is one of the better pub heroes in Dota. So if you're not still playing him, I do think if you understand what you can do in the laning stage, do things like drag waves and hard lanes, Bounty is one of the better solo queue supports. You simply feed off wandering supports, and you also snowball in terms of kills, which is key, right? Like, for a lot of solo queue games, people aren't farming that efficiently. It's often like just a kill fest. So if you have a bounty, it makes kill fests in your favor. Huge centaur nerf, 13 seconds to 22. Basically what this means now is instead of being able to max double edge after retaliate, you have to max hoof stomp, or else it's just going to be a giga long cooldown. And in the laning stage, you're much worse. Much less kill potential now. You're not as a threat as often. And yeah, pretty huge centaur nerf. Chen, base damage reduced by 4. Jeez, I mean, Chen's a good laner and all, but did they have to do it to him? I feel like this is a massive Darkseer nerf. Like, at least it looks like it. 6 less damage on something that ticks is quite huge, considering level 1 Shell is where Darkseer can struggle, right? Like, in some lanes, it's a bit hard if they have the right heroes to get to that level 3 where you're really strong. That's typically like the Darkseer Spike level 3. So now it's a bit harder to get there. You're going to kill the waves slower if you're cutting especially. You're going to kill the first wave slower. Quite big. And I think this needed to happen. Darkseer was just such a versatile offlaner. He could lane with basically any melee hero and make them effective, right? You could give any melee hero a good start and continue to have like the best team fight in the game, some of it. So I think it needed to happen. Death Prophet Exorcism Scepter damage from 2 times to 1.75 times, just making her broken hags a little bit worse. Some talent changes for Drow. I don't think this is gonna mean too much. However, at level 15, this was great. The 550 Gus distance / knockback was practically useless in the majority of games. Now you might hear that and be like, what are you talking about, Speed? Of course Drow wants to push people away. Well, if you put it in practice, right, in theory it makes sense, but in practice what would end up happening is you push them so far away, you can't hit them either. Like, the normal Gust would push them at a nice distance, where you could continue hitting them with frost arrows and still, like, push people off you, right? This one would just push them way too far. It was unnecessary and impractical in practice. And now it's 30% gust mischance, which is cool, right? You get a mischance, so you man up better against the other right clickers. Or you can get 4 more agility. That's pretty good. Alright, this is a crucial Ember nerf. Like, Heroes with Root just couldn't do anything to Ember. It was so foolish. Like, if he frostbited him as CM, he could just slide a fist, and it's like you couldn't disable him. Rod of Atos was practically a useless item, because he could just slide a fist the entire duration of it off. Ember was broken in that regard. He was so hard to kill. It's like when Storm could zip out of roots. He was just so hard to kill. Certain heroes just felt practically useless. And now that's not the case. This needed to happen. You don't want it to feel like certain heroes just can't catch Ember at all, or you can't even buy an item to catch him unless it's like Hex or Orchid, which he could address, right? So I think this is a necessary change for one of the best heroes in Dota right now. Slight damage nerf to Midnight Pulse, only by 0.25%. I mean, this matters a bit, I guess, when you have like Refresher and such, but Enigma's still super good in my opinion. Grip Stroke got a base damage reduction by 2, so now a slightly worse laning stage. As a 5, you already struggle to trade, so this definitely hurts him a bit. You know, 2's 2, but still. And then Soul Bind no longer reduces movement speed. Alright, they're just getting rid of it. You just don't slow people anymore. It just links, which I think is fair. I mean, the link is still giga good, especially against opponents with bad communication. I mean, it's basically like 100% movement slow at that point. So, I think this is totally fine, logical, and fair for a hero that just has bonkers utility. I mean, it's still, I frankly still think Grip Stroke is very good. Like, it's similar to the old Spirit. You're going to have to crush its numbers before its utility becomes outweighed, right? What it does, theoretically, is so strong. Shoves waves, defends towers, has decent laning stage, great kill potential, great team fight, a GPM talent of 10. That's tough to compete with. IO is now worse at level 1, especially. That's what's notable about this change. 90% to 60% at level 1. I think the idea here is that you need at least level 2 tether to make IO tether like back to sort of what it was in the regard. Level 1 is pretty brutal though. It scales up now. 10%, basically they took 10% off at every level except for the last level. So what I expect maybe to see, I don't know for sure, not a huge IO player, but you might go 2-2-0 in the regard that tether is much better at level 2 than 1 now. Don't take my word for that, but that's my guess. Next up is Juggernaut. Blade Fury got a damage reduction, basically just 5 off at every level besides the last one. This seems to be something Asfrog likes doing, just like reducing except for at the last level, which I think is fair. But this definitely doesn't hurt Jug too much. It might miss you like 1 kill in 5 games, but you can pick Jug when it's a good Jug game. Next up is Lich. He got a base intelligence increase by 2, which is also a damage increase by 2. So a slightly better laning stage, a little bit, maybe you can cast 1 more spell if it comes down to that, and a Sinister Gaze cooldown reduction. I don't feel like Sinister Gaze is the spell that makes Lich good, especially being on a lower cooldown. I don't think helps Lich become a better hero. Lich is more so around his other 3 spells, in my opinion. You know, Gaze is great, but it was already a good value point. I don't feel like the reduction is going to mean too much. Luna got some talent changes, but later on. So her level 20 talents are now better, you know, which is great. This is going to help her if you can get to that point. But the thing is, I think Luna has this issue where it's hard to get to that point. You need quite a few items before you can actually fight the majority of heroes, especially if they can get BKBs, right? I mean, a lot of your damage in the early and mid game is through your Eclipse, and I feel like you just die too easily in the laning stage. Sure, you're fast, but there's a lot of combo of heroes that if they just have good nukes and harass, you can't deal with it. You know, being a hero that simply just can't buy Stout Shield, it's hard to lane. You know, you can maybe make Luna work in some tri-lanes still, but once again, she doesn't really keep up tempo. I don't think she outfarms a hero like Sven, which I would much rather have compared to Luna. Yeah, that's how I look at it. Next up is LYCAN. So pretty massive LYCAN changes, I feel. It's not like this is going to make this hero top tier, but still, intelligence increase, meaning he can maybe use another set of wolves. I don't think that's necessarily massive, but sure. A base strength increase, just even tankier now. I mean, LYCAN was still giga tanky, now you're just slightly more tanky. Plus 1 more damage, you know, sure, that's great. But this notable one is Shapeshift critical strike chance is now pseudo-random, meaning you have a higher chance to crit if you haven't been critting, right? That's what the pseudo chance is. It goes up every time you don't get it, it goes up. So you can sort of like prep your crit in some regard. But basically, this means you're just going to crit more. Like, you have a higher chance to crit, which is pretty huge. I don't know for sure, but if I had to guess, this means it also works on your units. them getting the crits, which is also massive. Like, having everything crit more, that's quite good. Plus, you get talent buffs. You also got talent buffs. Not massive talent buffs, just some feral HP regen. I don't think you can take the 13 feral HP regen, even though it is a lot. Like, 13's a lot. I don't think you can take or skip 12% cooldown reduction on Lycan. This hero is very spell and item dependent, so it doesn't really work. I mean, Ice Strike, you tried your best, but I don't think that one flies. And then, you know, some feral impulse damage. That's good, but once again, like, does it compare to 8 seconds shapeshift duration? No. You can't skip 8 second shapeshift duration. Shapeshift is Lycan. You're not a hero without shapeshift. You have to buff shapeshift. So you're gonna take the 8 second shapeshift. Mirana got some changes that I think are gonna throw some people off, make them be like, oh my god, I'm gonna pick Mirana support. Don't pick Mirana support. It's not good. Okay, base intelligence increased by 3. Save a bit more mana. I guess this quote-unquote means you can maybe throw one more arrow if you're lucky. But Secret Arrow cooldown now is 1 second more at level 1, which means, once again, it's not good at roaming. It's still not good. But it scales down, meaning maxing it has a little bit more merit, considering you would leave it at level 1, maybe level 2 in the past. So I guess this is Ice Frog trying to incentivize you maxing it. However, the only notable thing that makes it slightly better at roaming, I suppose, or I guess as a core, is the fact that it is now 80 damage at level 1 at base instead of 50. But still, don't pick Mirana as a roamer. Maybe as a mid. They're really trying to crush Morphling's laning stage. Like, holy, might as well give him 0 armor. Base armor reduction by 1. Reduced by 1. Now, he has less agi at level 1 because the morph agi and morph strength now only give you 1 base agi, and now you have 1 less armor. You're even worse at level 1. This is crazy. Morphling is just trash at level 1. Basically, if you're against a Morphling, pressure him when he's level 1. Quite weak. And if you're Morphling, try to stall out until you can get to level 3. That would be my recommendation. That's when you hit a decent spike. Some cool, very cool morph changes. The Scepter no longer reduces cooldowns by 35%, which obviously hurts it. Right? That was quite a massive part of it. However, the Morph Scepter now allows ally targeting, which is cool because now you can draft this in the intent of picking it with certain heroes, right? Maybe you could pick it with like a Undying, pretty good, Ember. You can draft it in accordance to your own heroes and not only be able to pick it in niche situations where it looks good against their team, right? You could pick it with an Earthshaker and get that early Ags before you hit the level 20 talent, because what they did is now you can basically morph ally targets earlier if you have the Ags. However, you can't do it without the Ags because the level 20 talent has been changed from morph target allies to 15% cooldown reduction, which is a very good talent. 15% cooldown reduction. I think this is quite huge for Morphling. You're a hero that has a lot of active items: Satanic, Manta, 3 active abilities, I guess 4 technically, Waveform, BKB, Ethereal Blade, Linkens. That's a lot. Landing stage nerf for Morphling, but this 20 talent, I kind of like this. I like 0.1% for Heartstopper Aura. That's it. Ogre Magi got some intelligence and agi gain buffs. Makes him scale a bit better. That's quite good. It's not strength, which, means he's not as tanky, but still, you scale a bit better. And you got a level 20 talent increase from 40 Bloodlust attack speed to 60, which is actually a lot. Considering you're going to have this spell maxed for sure at this point. Obviously, you're level 20. I don't even know why I said that. But considering you really like to play around the Bloodlust attack speed, I think this is potentially very good with certain heroes. Okay, so Omni is interesting topic because you got a Guardian Angel duration reduction, which is, I would say this is basically whatever. It goes from 6 to 5, which hurts him. It's not good, obviously. However, the more notable change, massive change, is that you have 9 more seconds level 1 Heavenly Grace. Right. However, it scales down quite rapidly, getting to 14 seconds at level 4 again. So it's the same at level 4. This is like the name of this patch. The Stay the Same at level 4 patch. And I think people are going to overlook this hero now and be like, it got nerfed. I'm not so sure. I really see Omniknight still as an offlaner that can sustain the lane, right? You can still sustain the lane and do fine in a lot of the chiller lanes, right? If you're against a TB or a PA or a Spectre, you're still going to get your levels. You're still going to be able to pressure. Sure, you're not as potent, right? However, you can max out your Heavenly Grace, get to level 7, which doesn't take too long, right? By the 9, 10, 11 minute mark, you can be around there as an offlaner. then you're going to have maxed out Heavenly Grace, and it's still going to be one of the best spells in the game. So don't overlook Omniknight. Maybe, I think this is mostly to hurt support Omni. It hurts offlane Omni, but definitely crushes the 5 Omnis that don't get as many levels. Oracle got a slight movement speed nerf by 5. OD's Sanity's Eclipse mana drain has been reduced from 40 to 30, so it's harder to drain people out. I don't feel like OD was that popular, so maybe in all the qualifiers he has been getting picked quite a bit, so that's not necessarily true. There's definitely a lot of teams that like this hero. And at level 15, instead of 25 movement speed, you get 350 mana. Okay. Phantom Assassin fixed Stifling Dagger Slow for lasting 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds instead of 1.75, 2.5, 3.25, and 4 seconds. Once again, staying the same at level 4. I like it, Frog, staying consistent. However, this is huge. 0.75 more seconds of slow. I guess it was bugged. I don't know. But that's almost a 2-second slow now. It's basically double. Obviously, it's a 75% change. That's huge, right? That's really huge. Phantom Lancer now has a Spirit Lance that only costs 110 mana instead of 125 level 1. That's still notable. So you can use it more to secure creeps and harass your enemy. Do I think this makes PL some like GIGA hero? No, but it helps his laning stage. Also, slight talent increase at level 15 from 250 health to 275. Shadow Demon got a mana increase on his Soul Catcher. It went up by 30 at all levels, and Shadow Demon could have some mana issues if you're not really being diligent, buying clarities and popping shrines and such, so hurts the fact that you already had mana issues and kind of puts it on top of that. Skywrath Mage is a better laner now, 25 more attack range, which is going to help him trade even better, right? 25 attack range is very notable in the laning stage where you're really trying to inch out every little bit of space, like especially if you're very good at trading. This matters a lot because you can really play around these type of things. And they buffed Concussive Shot level 1. Really, they're buffing Skywrath Mage laning stage a lot. Like, this hero is a very potent laner. I think it scales very well. Definitely keep your eye out for Sky. I think a lot of potential in this hero, and very good solo queue hero. Slaughter got a Corrosive Haze cast point reduction, so you can cast it a bit faster, and the cast range has gone up as you get more levels in your ultimate. Spirit Breaker Charge of Darkness cooldown increase from 11 to 17, 15, 13, 11, basically meaning you have to take points in this now. In the past, what you would do is you would max out your Bulldoze instead, and then your Bash. Right? So essentially what they're saying is you can't max out Bulldoze and Bash, or else your Charge of Darkness will have a very long cooldown. Right, so now I expect the build to be more so around 4-4-1 instead of 1-4-4. Sven base strength reduced by 1. So, okay, slightly worse earlier on. And you can no longer use God Strength. Kidding, that's not what it is. I mean, I think it will get there. It's gone from 80 to 100 to 110 now. Next patch, I think it's going to go to 150. That's my guess. Or, what they're going to do is make it where you can only use God Strength once per game. So, that's, yeah, basically you have to be really good at Sven or else you can't play him. Underlord, Pit of Malice, reduction in mana from 100 to 80, but it basically becomes the same at level 4. Not exactly. Ice-Frog throws us off here. Alright, I get it. Can't always do that. And the cooldown has also gone down quite a bit. However, it also stays the same at level 4. So, it's better in the laning stage is what I see here, but you wouldn't put a point in this anyway. Maybe you take a value point now. Underlord is still meh. Vengeful Spirit, base intelligence increase. She's gotten a lot of base intelligence increases lately. Correct me if I'm wrong, but at least 2. Maybe her mana pool is somewhat sustainable now. The problem is the Magic Missile is still a very high mana spell. It's quite hard to sustain, but considering the fact that support items are cheaper, you can afford more clarities, more mangoes, maybe get a stick. And therefore you could sustain these spells, and Venge spells are very potent. However, you know, the stun cast rate is still very low, so it's hard to use. Will we see Venge in the future? I think we'll see her in some niche lineups, but I'm not sure. I actually don't know. I would love to hear what you guys think about Venge in the comments. I don't know. Where's this hero at? Viper got a 2 base damage increase, and better talents for right-clicking. It seems like Icestrong wants to make him a right-clicker, which I think is somewhat understandable. I think Viper has some potential there. Also, they buffed the poison attack last patch, making him, once again, you know, a better right-clicker. I mean, it makes him a fine magic hero to that buff, but overall, right-click buffs to Viper. Visage got a very interesting change. Grafe's chill duration from 3, 4, 5, 6, basically you would scale up and cool down in the past. Now it's 6 at all levels, right? meaning it's 6 at level 1. That's huge. 6 seconds. Now, how they balance this out is instead of it being 32% movement speed and 64 attack speed at every level, it scales up, which is very interesting because it makes you a more sustainable hero on the laning stage. Basically, you would have to pick and choose when Grave Chill is good and really commit to it. You'd have to commit hard to Grave Chill in the laning stage because you only had it for 3 seconds. You would really have to use those 3 seconds to either get a deny, get some last hits, get some harass in. But now it's a lot more sustained, which I think helps Visage quite a bit, especially if you want to pick him as a support. Weaver got his strength gain increase. You know, that's great. Weaver likes HP, more survivable. Very cool. Thank heaven for this change. Wraith King skeleton health reduced from 250 to 175. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Praise Ice Frog. Thank gosh. Oh my. I don't think anyone in the game besides carry players who spam this hero for MMR liked skeletons. They're obnoxious. Do I have to say anymore? What? They're still annoying. They're still going to be annoying for heroes that don't have good wave clear. But, whew, thank the Lord. And finally, Zeus. Okay, Zeus, bit of damage, 25 more damage on your ultimate, which can be the difference between getting your kill or not early on. So, you know, some damage for Zeus on his ultimate, and slightly less. Oh no, wait, more damage, but more mana. Okay, interesting. So the mana stays the same in the late game, however, 24 more damage at all levels. Okay, bit of a Zeus buff. So, okay, I'm going to give my top winner for this patch to LYCAN, and I'm going to say number 2 is Bloodseeker. So I'm going to say LYCAN number 1, Bloodseeker number 2. I really think this Blood Rite cooldown makes him a much better laner. You can even take Blood Rite at level 1 now, and I think it's justified. Like, no joke, or at level 2. Basically, I would expect people to be 1-1-1 now, which you might have been in the past, but 1 point seems very scary now, so yeah, Bloodseeker and all the LYCAN changes, just huge buffs. Really excited to see where these heroes go. I'm going to say the top loser was probably either Darkseer or Ember. You know, it's really hard for me to tell. Centaur got a big nerf as well. However, the Ember nerf, I feel like comes into play a lot more than you would think, or even I would think. So, making Ember easier to kill really hurts this hero's kit, because he plays a lot around with the fact that he's near impossible to kill with max sleight of fist, or at least it feels that way. I'm going to say Ember number 1, Darkseer number 2 for nerfs. If you disagree with anything that I had to say in this patch, I'd love to hear what you have to say down in the comment section below. If you think any hero got nerfed a lot more than Ember, or got buffed a lot more than Bloodseeker and LYCAN, I'd like to hear what you have to say in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. Please do like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video. Hey guys, before I leave you, I just want to remind you that over at gameleap.com, you can check out guides just like this one, made by top tier pros. It will help you gain MMR faster, it will help you learn the game much more in depth, and overall, just increase the experience of your Dota gameplay, as you will crush your opponents simply by knowing more than them.